Lindsey. You have this joy, this happiness, this glowing energy.
Thank you.
It is important for people to know that the glowers around them still get pissed off. It's a human experience. We are not trying to eliminate with our positivity and spirituality the human experience. What we are finding is that with specific tools and with language and with practices that help us, such as meditation or removing yourself for a moment, I've learned how to lock the door because I joke that as a mom, I haven't gone to the bathroom by myself in 10 years. So I've learned to lock the door and take a bath. That those moments of self-care is really self-love. And we return faster. When you connect with the practices that work for you, it doesn't make you immune from anything negative happening. It doesn't make you immune from getting angry or being annoyed. It just helps you rebound differently and more quickly.
You're listening to the First Class Life Show hosted by Lindsey Vertner, a holistic personal development show for high-achieving leaders who desire to maximize their impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So grab a drink, grab your notebook, and let's get started. Hey, First Class family. Welcome back to another episode of the First Class Life Show. I am your host, Lindsey Vertner, and I'm so grateful to be here with you yet again as we continue to maximize our impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness, which y'all know is called a first class life. So today on our show, we have a very special guest by the name of Joanna Rajendran, and she is going to share with us so much knowledge I already know, okay? So get your pen and papers ready. Be sure that you subscribe, comment, like, connect, do all of the things. Share your insights on social media. Be sure to tag us, and let's continue the conversation offline as well. So meanwhile, we got to hop right into this discussion because I know y'all don't have time to waste, okay? So welcome to the First Class Life Show, Joanna. How are you?
I am amazing. Thank you for asking, Lindsey, and thank you for having me. I'm excited to connect today with you and with all of your listeners and watchers.
Yes. Welcome. So I know we got a chance to chat backstage for just a moment, but I want you to share with the First Class family, who is Joanna really? Like, really peel back the curtains and give us the good tea. Who are you, girl?
Okay, well, in that case, Lindsey, and it's kind of funny, you can never pretend to be shy when you write a book that has so much of your raw, authentic life in it. So there are no secrets left anymore, peeps. But I am now in my 40s living on the beach in Florida, but this is not where it started. I grew up in New York, and I'm super close with my family. We do family vacations every year. We were together all the time. I had this amazing childhood with my siblings who are still my best friends. And yet it's not always rainbows and unicorns, as most of us come to find out. So when I was in college and I was 17, I was in this darker space in my life. I had been raped. I had an abortion. I was surviving. I was getting through my classes. I looked okay on the outside, but I was feeling fragile and broken on the inside. And I actually wrote as the first line in my book, I was feeling grateful to my rapist. And this was decades later that I wrote that. And I truly think it, because if you change one thing, you change all the things. So sometimes we look back on our dark times and we think, wow, that was tough. And we almost wish it away. But if you look at all the beauty that happened after, you realize the value in all of the experiences. So that specific time in my life led me to wonder what else there was. How else could you feel? What else could you do? How could you be? And just starting to ask different questions brought into my life different answers. I was introduced to different books, different people, different travel experiences. And then one day I walked into a yoga class, and I did not have spiritual reasons for trying yoga. I thought Madonna's arms looked jacked. Maybe I should try it. One of the first couple of classes I took, I walked in, and in the front of the room was this tiny glowing figure. And it was my teacher, who would turn out to be the world's oldest yoga teacher, who had marched with Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. and had been an actress, an activist, a model, a ballroom dancer, all of these things. And I just thought, I don't know who this is, but she looks and feels like love. And in that first time where our eyes met, something connected so profoundly. And I thought just in me that she probably had this all the time. I would later learn in both of us, and that we knew we were meant to do things together. And I spent the next 26 years studying with her, following her around, assisting her, learning from her. And that ability to see so many lives just transformed and impacted, and to learn all of these nuggets and pearls of wisdom from her, I thought, okay, game on. This is what my life's about. My life is about helping other people, as many people as possible, to live their best life ever. So this is my jam. And through the decades, I've done this through teaching yoga and meditation, connecting with people on the mat, and also just one-on-one and with people. And now the biggest gift of the book is I get to open the conversation to people, whether or not they care specifically about yoga as a practice.
Well, you definitely gave us the tea, okay? Now, you said quite a bit of things. So we're going to have to run that back just a moment, because you breezed over a little detail that if you weren't paying attention, you might have missed it. But you said you had a great childhood, and in your late teens, you were raped.
Yes.
Would you mind walking us through that journey? Because unfortunately, I know that there are people listening, and they may not have been raped, but there is a subset of people who maybe have.
Yes.
Unfortunately, more common than we think. And we're just going to hold space for them right now, because not everyone will talk about it. Some people will take that secret to their grave. And then for those of you that are listening that have never been in that situation, thank God for that. But still be in this energy and hold space, because there's always something to be learned.
Absolutely. And chances are, the sad reality is, if they haven't been in that experience personally, they will be touched by it in some form. A friend, a family member, a child. What you experience around the topic of rape is often private, quiet. There are levels and layers to it. It's so interesting, because one of the comments I hear the most when someone reads the book is thank you. Thank you for shining a light on that as part of your experience and something that happened to you, but not being who you are. You can be raped and not be a rape victim. You can be raped and own your power forever. It is important to process it, to be honest with what has happened, because that place of denial, anything we sweep under a rug, just makes that rug bigger. There's no way of avoiding feelings, trauma, experiences. So the only way to get through it is through it. And for me, it did not look pretty. I thought I could just handle it on my own at school. I was feeling protective. The reason I was keeping it a secret for a while is I was protective of my family. We were so close that I didn't want them to hurt. And then one day it all came down, and it was, looking back, I would say probably more of a panic attack or an experience with really heightened anxiety. I remember feeling hot and sweaty and crying. And my parents, who have been divorced 30 years at this point, but are still really best friends, my mom called my dad and said, I don't know what's happening, but I think you should come over. And that was the moment where I shared with my mom, my dad, and my sister what happened to me. And the biggest part of it is that we hear all the time that there is shaming and blaming that goes on. It's, of course, people who have been raped cover all categories of gender, of age, of ethnicity, of religion, of everything. But speaking specifically to women, we often feel that in some way we hold responsibility for the things that happen to us. And because this was someone I was seeing and it was a date rape situation, I did hold responsibility. And it wasn't for his actions, it was for a series of choices in my life that put me in places that were more dangerous than others. Mm-hmm. So those feelings of knowing it wasn't my fault, but also feeling like this could be a wake-up call that if I want better outcomes, different choices can help me get there. So there were a lot of layers. And I knew that it wasn't my doing when this guy actually raped me. But there was this moment of pure freedom when about 10 or 15 years later, maybe even more, 20 years later, I saw him again. And I talk about this, Lindsey, in the book. This one, I won't even tell you how it went because it really, I think the buildup helps. But you can say you've released anger, you're at peace with your life. And in that moment, you find out, okay, is that really the case? And thankfully, I could say it was. That there was a lot of feelings because when I saw him again, I was pregnant. So there I felt again protective of my baby, protective of this beautiful soul, protective of my energy while carrying him. And I didn't want to feel the feelings that came up right then. Anger, fear, surprise, protection. It was all of these feelings at once. But ultimately, what I walked away with was gratitude. Look at this life. Look at this life I've created, combining all of these experiences, never be in spite of because of what has happened to me, good, bad, or indifferent.
Hey, I know it can be exhausting, blazing the trail and creating a legacy. And you're at the point in your life where you desire peace and rest. You want to enjoy both the physical freedom and financial freedom to live life on your terms. You understand the importance of prioritizing your self-care. And you know that you're worthy of transformational experiences surrounded by other high-achieving, goal-oriented women just like you. That's why you deserve to be treated like VIP at the First Class Life Luxury Self-Care Retreat for Women. You deserve to show up and just be you. Away from the titles and roles that keep you busy from day to day. You deserve the luxury to fully unplug. It's time for you to embrace your first class life. Visit firstclassliferetreats.com to secure your VIP spot today because you deserve it.
Yes, I love that because it's so important that we heal our traumas so that we can control how they show up in our lives. Because whenever we don't take the time to heal our negative experiences, the past things that we've been through, then that's how they subconsciously show up in our behaviors, and we react to things and we never know when something is going to trigger us. Like if you've had a traumatic experience and maybe the smells or the food that you were eating right before then, yes, and you don't realize that that same smell can trigger something within you. But if you haven't begun to identify and heal those things, then when that trigger comes in your life, you're spazzing out and you don't know why. It's like, okay, I am
Absolutely
able to control the things that I've been through. Well, not control the things that you've been through, but control my healing process for the things that I've been through so that you can, be mindful of when those triggers come, because that could have went very differently. And for a lot of people, I'm sure it does go very differently, but you were in a space of happiness. And so there's something that I would like to ask you from that, because you mentioned, you took on a lot of that. It's my fault, which is typical. And tell us about that journey of just self-forgiveness.
Yes.
And before you get into that, let me say this to all the first class family out there. You may be listening and like, girl, ain't this a leadership show? Like, why are we talking about rape? And here's the thing. The society likes to think that leaders don't go through things. But leaders go through things just like everybody else. But a lot of times we feel alone in being able to talk about them because we are the leader.
Yes.
And so on the First Class Live show, we get raw, real, and uncut. Okay. We talk about the hard things because unfortunately we go through things. That's only a part of the human experience. And I never want anyone to feel like they're alone, because they're not. And oftentimes some of these harder things that we go through in life are exactly what shape us into who we're purposed to be. And so we got to talk about them. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it also makes you a more relatable, accessible, human example of leadership. Because there is no one who walks through unscathed. There is no one who has all rainbows around them all the time.
Right.
So if you put yourself in that category, or you think you need to pretend to be perfect or to have a perfect experience, then not only are you going to decrease that level of connection with the community who you're trying to impact or lead or touch, but you're also going to give them this misguided notion that they can't step into their leadership unless they had a perfect experience. So it's time for people to stop pretending. We all have our stuff. And in fact, when I talk to people about finding love and finding their partner, I'm like, don't look for a person without stuff. Look for a person whose stuff is compatible with yours. So in terms of that process of really just forgiving and letting go, I forgave myself, I forgave him, but I never thought, I thought I was taking appropriate steps because I had just broken up with somebody who was a real first love, and that lasted for years. When I met this guy, I said very honestly, I wasn't ready for any kind of serious physical commitment. I didn't want anything intimate. And he was totally okay with it, seemingly. And he had enlisted in the Marines. And I don't know if it was the fear about shipping out or what his life was going to look like, but it was right before he left to join the Marines when that happened and he raped me. So I thought I was very clear in my words. I was clear in my actions. And yet where I was that night with him geographically and logistically just made it so that I wasn't in control of, can I leave? Can I get home? What's my exit? What's my power? So those were the points when I looked back that I remembered thinking I wish I had done differently. Now with the perspective of distance, I don't wish anything other because, again, change one thing, change all things. So for me, it was realizing that I took the nuggets. I took the nuggets that I could learn, the practical things that I could do differently just to feel like I was as safe as possible. The rest is on him. And you can control your response. You can control what you do to heal your trauma. You can't control the actions of somebody else. So I no longer tried to spend any time wondering why, what. I just let his part of it go. My part of it realized the best thing that I can do is to share this somehow in a way that reminds people that not only is it not your fault, this thing that happens, and it doesn't have to be rape, it can be applied to anything else. This thing that happens that's a source of trauma, used correctly, could be your greatest power.
Yeah. That is so good because, you mentioned earlier that you'd been raped, but you're not a rape victim. And unfortunately, excuse me, sometimes when we experience these traumatic events or these negative experiences throughout our life, we like to sit in self-pity and wallow and cry and do all the things, and we like to become the victim. And I always say that when you're stuck in victim mode, you give up your power for change. And so you have to remove yourself out of that space if you want to live your life, if you want to start the healing process. So thank you for sharing that, because that is very important that we all do, no matter what we've been through, because, we might not all relate to that specific story, but we've all been through some type of triggering, negative, traumatic type of experience at one level or the other. So it's part of the human experience.
Oh, yeah. And the good news is live long enough and it becomes a tiny part of your story.
Yes.
I mean, it's mentioned, as I said, my book's really raw, so very personal topics will come up throughout it. But I love that experience is mentioned here, mentioned there, but in the scheme of my life, he's not even a chapter.
Ooh, okay. Not even a chapter. Yep. And I think that is a key nugget that I don't want anyone to miss, because whenever we do stay in that victim mode for whatever reason, we start to make that moment a whole chapter when it was only meant to be a page long.
Yes. And we make somebody else the star of the movie of our life. It becomes more about them, what they did, what that impact is. When you are writing the story of your life, and you are every single day with your thoughts and your words, and then ultimately your actions and character, you are writing the story of your life. You are the main character. That is not self-centered. That is self-love. You are the main character. Who do you want to fill the roles in your movie? What do you want the energy? What do you want the feel of it to be? Mm-hmm. And some people love it to be a dramatic story. So they have different patterns that show up again and again in different versions, in different people, but it still feels like the same theme. So just realize that if you're not currently enjoying the theme, the tone of your own movie, imagine you're crumpling up that paper, throwing it aside, start writing again.
Yeah. Because every day that you're alive and breathing, you have the opportunity to write something else.
Totally. Every second. My teacher, and I always want to be sure to say her name was Tao Porchon-Lynch. She lived until she was 101, and she passed away right before COVID. And when she was in her 80s, she wanted a new challenge. So she started competitively ballroom dancing. She was on America's Got Talent. You have to YouTube it because it's amazing to see. Howard Stern was like, I can't even get my parents off the couch. And she's in her 90s and her partner was in his 20s. And he's flipping her and spinning her all around the dance floor. And her philosophies that there is nothing we cannot do, or procrastination is the only sin because there's no such thing as tomorrow. Her philosophies, her nuggets were so valuable that everything that I learned from her, I realized this served her decades ago. This is serving me now. This can serve somebody in perpetuity in the future. There is no limit to the profound brilliance of all of these nuggets of wisdom that I learned from her. And so now I feel like if I could keep the torch, the flame of her torch lit by sharing these forever, I feel like it is a complete honor. That's why I love having conversations like this with you today, because you realize that's the magic of life. It's connection. It's connection in all its forms. You can have it from mentor to mentee. You can have it to podcaster to the person listening. You can have it from parent to child. It can happen in all forms. But those moments of huge connections and micro connections we have throughout our day, it's what makes our life experience so special. So anytime you have a chance to learn from somebody, especially somebody older, wiser, who's done what you want to do, you get to take their hindsight and make it your foresight, and you skip ahead of years of trial and error of learning the hard way.
Looking for amazing products to help boost your first-class lifestyle? Then head over to firstclasslifeshop.com, where you can treat yourself to personal development books and workbooks, lifestyle affirmation cards, adult coloring books, mugs, notebooks, hoodies, t-shirts, leggings, and more. All products were designed to help you master your mindset, walk in your purpose, and live your first-class life because you deserve it. So treat yourself today at firstclasslifeshop.com. Again, that's firstclasslifeshop.com.
Yes, because the things that we've been through is meant to help other people along the way, you know? I always hate when people are being like, oh, I made it by myself. It's like, well, you might not feel like you have the support, but, you know, there's people that paved the way for you before you even got here and you know, different things like that. But I definitely want to talk about her. But before we get into that, I want to make sure that I ask you, if someone listening is struggling with forgiveness, whether that's forgiveness of themselves or forgiveness of someone else, what are the first steps that they can take to truly start that journey of forgiveness?
Well, step one, when we don't want to forgive, especially someone else, we're making it about them rather than about us. And what I mean by that is you want to decide, how do you want to feel? What do you want the resting place energetically of your life to feel like? Do you want it to feel sad, angry, vindictive? And these could be justifiable feelings. No one's doubting the validity of you feeling that way. It doesn't mean that you have to, though. So once you choose, my resting place for my life is joy. I can't have that be joyful and so angry at the same time. So if I'm having trouble forgiving, I'm lowering the experience of joy in my life. I can't feel that capacity of joy, of happiness, of presence if I'm holding on to that anger, that hurt, that pain. So when you release it, and sometimes you might think, I can't forgive them because what they did was so wrong, that puts it back on what they did. This has nothing to do with the pain you actually experienced as much as how do you want your life to feel? And if you want happiness more than you want justifiable anger and hurt, then you'll be willing to let go of one for the other. I always mess up these metaphors when they pop in my head, but it's kind of like thinking I can hold acid, throw it at someone and burn them. You've already burned yourself just by holding it. So how long do we want to just stay so committed to our hurt and our pain that we lose all of the beauty in front of us? Our current relationships, love, friendships, opportunities. So when you make it about how you want to feel rather than how wrong was that thing that happened, all of a sudden the conversation already changes. Next, find one thing that you can empathize. Even in the darkest of people or circumstances, there might be something like, too bad they've never experienced love to the capacity that I have, that this is what they thought was their only chance. Or how sad is it that they have to live with what they've done when I just have to live with who I am now? I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of my actions. So if you can find one nugget of empathy, just enough to dial down the anger, you might be able to release attachment to all of the feelings. There are so many resources these days in terms of people you can connect with, people you can talk to, people you can talk to this about specifically. If you feel shy or private about it, you could journal. Meditation for me has been one of the touchstones in my life. And often when we talk about meditation, people think you need to be sitting in full lotus, full om. You need to have a practice, a room, an outfit, a candle. Whatever it is we think we need, we don't. And I remember this one man, this guy in finance, he was way older and I used to teach him yoga and he'd say, I'm not a yogi. I said, you don't have to call yourself anything. Let's just do some yoga and breathe together, okay? And I remember how he would tell me, well, I can't meditate because I can't quiet my mind. And I can't meditate because I can't sit still. And I said, well, what if your meditation was moving? And what if you don't think about meditation being the absence of thought? But what if we can increase the space between each thought? Just give you a little more space in your brain, a little more space with your breath, a little more space in your life. So if you are one who thinks of meditation as this lofty goal and I'm not a meditator, start with one breath. Start with a huge inhale and exhaling with a sigh, where you really let the tension just melt from your shoulders. And notice how that changes how you feel. And then you'll realize that if I just sit with my thoughts, or if I just breathe, don't call it meditation if you're worried about the title. But
Right.
if you just start with a timer for 5 minutes, maybe eventually you could go up to 15 or so, and carve out time. I love it first thing in the morning, where you just have time sitting. Because when you stop thinking, when you stop trying, when you stop efforting, all of a sudden you are in the receptive mode. And what you receive in that mode is your magic. That is your individual peace, power, and possibility.
Peace, power, and possibility. Yes, it's all about expanding our views of what meditation looks like,
Yeah.
because usually when you hear that word, like you said, you think of, sitting crisscross applesauce, going like
Exactly.
this and all the things. But really, it's about being present in the moment, in your
Yes.
surroundings, in your thoughts and things like that. So
You want to know a challenge for that?
Ooh,
Find a task that you find hard or just not rewarding. I don't love doing dishes or folding laundry. But I love for the laundry to be folded perfectly. So I guess it's a control thing because I still do it. So as I'm folding, if I look at piles and piles of laundry and I think, oh, my 10-year-old, bless her, she has every single item of clothing inside out. So first you have to uninside out it and then you fold it. So I could start on a rant. Really? I do all the things. And this one thing would be so much simpler if it wasn't inside out. We could start a tape of things playing in our minds that don't necessarily serve us. When I catch one of those thoughts starting, I think, okay, how do I turn this practice, this action, into a moving meditation? And the trick for that is gratitude. I start thinking, I'm so grateful for my 10-year-old. I'm so grateful for all of her activities. I'm so grateful that inspires her to change her outfit 17 times a day. I am so grateful for my healthy children that make a mess. I am so grateful for my little boy who thinks it's funny to be Captain Underpants, so he tries on 20 a day. And I'm so grateful for the resources, for the clothing, for the shelter, for the washing machine. I'm so grateful I'm not out banging rocks trying to get these clothes clean. I am so grateful for my health, my hands, my ability to fold. And I'm so grateful that I'm a badass folder. We can start with anything, but gratitude can spiral you in such a place that it can turn any task into a point of blessing.
Ooh, yes. And I love that, because it is so important to be grateful in all the things. Like we can be grateful for what is and also for what is not. For example, when my kids were little, and even now, because, they're getting into that attitude stage, but whenever they would be crying and fighting, throwing little tantrums, when I caught myself in those moments of, I just want to pull my hair out, it was like, okay, I had to take a pause, and I would do like a moment of gratitude. Like, even though they are working my last nerve right now, I am grateful that I am able to see them bickering. I am able to hear them bickering. Because, some people are blind. They never have seen their children a day in their life, or some people are deaf and they've never been able to hear their children speak, or vice versa. Maybe some people have children where they have disabilities where they're unable to speak, so they'll never hear their child call them mama or dada or anything like that. So I get in that space of gratitude, like, okay, although they're working the nerve, I'm grateful for the things that I'm able to do. And that starts to shift the energy. And then after that, I'll take a moment, It's like, all right, so did some gratefulness. Now let me go have a little moment over here, do some deep breathing and return. And you return with a different energy and different interaction with those that are in that environment. In my case, it was my kids. So if you're around other people and a moment you're feeling like this, then practice that gratitude and watch how the energy shifts in the space, which will then change one thing, change all the things.
Yep. And I love that you said that, because to your point before about you can be a leader and have experienced trauma. Mm-hmm. You can be where you are right now. And I'm sure anybody who's ever seen you, either on your podcast or in real life or at a speaking event, you glow, Lindsey. You have this joy, this happiness, this glowing energy.
Thank you.
It is important for people to know that the glowers around them still get pissed off. It's a human experience. We are not trying to eliminate with our positivity and spirituality the human experience. What we are finding is that with specific tools and with language and with practices that help us, such as meditation or removing yourself for a moment, I've learned how to lock the door, because I joke that as a mom, I haven't gone to the bathroom by myself in 10 years. So I've learned to lock the door and take a bath. That those moments of self-care is really self-love. And we return faster. When you connect with the practices that work for you, it doesn't make you immune from anything negative happening. It doesn't make you immune from getting angry or being annoyed. It just helps you rebound differently and more quickly.
Yes, that is so true. Oh my goodness. There's so many things that I want to ask you about. Geez Louise, like we're going to need like a part 2 or something. So, we were just talking about meditation and forgiveness and shifting the energy, and you got to really have mentorship, if you will, with someone of significant magnitude, right? So tell us a little bit about that journey. Specifically, I would like to know if you ever had any moments of imposter syndrome. And this may not be true, but that's why I'm asking, because oftentimes, especially as leaders, sometimes when we get around other people that can hold such a bright light or, are doing all of these amazing things, especially when we're first trying to find ourselves and figure out what's our journey, then we can be around these people and we can have these feelings of like, what did I do to get here? Like, I don't feel competent. I don't feel good enough to be in the present. So talk to us.
Totally. And it really is that whole like feeling like, whoa, I could bow down. And you subconsciously might diminish your own worth without even thinking of it with the imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is real. It is real in so many of the hats that we wear. And I don't know anyone right now in my whole life that only wears one hat. Maybe a newborn, maybe, because your needs are so simple and what you're thinking about is so specific. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, we all have imposter syndrome. We try something new, we feel like, can we do it? We try something we've done forever, we think, are we still current? We learn from somebody who's amazing, we think, can we ever fill those shoes? And one day you realize you don't have to fill the shoes. This is funny because it sounds like such a good segue, so I'm going with it. My book is called My Guru Wears Heels. The reason why my teacher, who, as I said, lived to 101, would lead retreats to India, climb Machu Picchu, walk you through the Taj Mahal, everything she did in high heels, except for teaching yoga, but she would take the heels off before we taught. So here I am, literally, my guru wears heels. And I thought, I'm really like a chick who wears flip-flops. Like, literally, I'm not filling these shoes. And what you realize is you were never meant to. You have your own shoes. You have your own lane, your own source of power, of purpose, your form of inspiration. I learned from her for over 20 years. I can teach things that I learned from her. I can teach specific quotes that she said to me. but I'm still going to teach it through the lens of my life experiences. And it's still going to be different just because it was translated through that experience. So anytime, especially if it's because of this, if it's because you learned from somebody or you studied with someone or you went to a specific school to learn whatever it is that you do, or you've just looked up to someone, maybe you never even met them. Maybe as a speaker, you loved somebody else as a speaker and you looked up to them. And one day you're sharing a stage with them and you think with full humility, I am not worthy. Let me tell you with absolute belief, you are worthy. If you weren't worthy, you wouldn't even be there. So I realized, and it took a while, especially after she passed away, because there were times where I would be assisting my teacher and she would say, now Joanna's going to show you this. And I'd be comfortable demonstrating something. I remember the first time I taught in front of her, I thought, what do I have to offer? My nuggets came from her. And now I'm teaching in front of her. And I very quickly learned we all have a nugget that's different. And you just keep going. Whatever it is that's your passion, when you're living and doing and being and breathing your passion, it's a feeling people get around you. It's not a specific word you say or a thing you do. So if you're feeling, especially you shared you have kids, I have kids. If you're a parent, you feel like an imposter a significant portion of the time because you're learning together. First, you're learning new humans, and then you think, nailed it, I'm an amazing mom. I know my kids so well. The next day they wake up a completely different person. So just when you think you've learned everything, the universe will show you there's still more to do. Be playful. So if we can shift that feeling of, am I worthy, to how grateful, how blessed am I to be here now, then all of a sudden we realize there's no one more worthy than you to receive these blessings you are receiving. And if you are called to pay them forward and share them, do it. Don't make it about you. When I'm about to step on a stage, and this happens, one of my mentors who I had never met before was Tony Robbins. I just liked his delivery was very different than my teacher, Tao. So I thought, okay, I kind of related to him because I get excited and I curse like a sailor. I've been watching myself today. I'm just saying, I'm really proud. And then I also had like the peaceful, spiritual yoga meditation specific version like Tao. So I remember he's booked me to teach one of his small private coaching groups to do some breath and meditative work. And I remember the first time thinking, he's been doing what I've been doing for so much longer. What more do I have to give in this moment? Mm-hmm. Here is my favorite tip when that happens to you. And this might not happen in a speaking event like Lindsey. For you, it might show up in the conference room in your office. Let me tell you this. If you say, I am not the message, I am the messenger, that whatever it is you are delivering, it's really about being of service, about the person receiving it. Then you get over yourself so fast because all you want to do is deliver that message to provide that impact or that space for possibility. You take yourself right out of the equation and you will cartwheel onto that stage or into the conference room to deliver.
I love that shift in mindset. See, listen, y'all, this is why I just love Mindset Talks, because it's always these little shifts that can really make a difference.
You don't have to get over imposter symptoms. Just work with it and keep going.
Yes. And when you say that, another thing that does is it takes off so much of the pressure, because oftentimes, when we are working in our different skills and talents and we're leaders, we take on a lot of the pressure, not only of ourselves and the expectations that we have for ourselves and that other people put on us, but the expectations of other people. And so it starts to get heavy sometimes. And so when you shift your mindset and say you are not the message, but the messenger, did I say it right?
You nailed it.
Then it really takes that pressure off. Didn't I tell y'all this was going to be a great show? Thank you, Joanna. Are you loving the First Class Live show? Then join our private Patreon community.
Not only will you help to support our ability to provide you with great content, but you can also get exclusive perks like bonus videos and resources, discounts, episode transcripts, and more. So what are you waiting for? Join today at patreon.com/firstclasslife. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/firstclasslife.
And so, if you don't mind, I would like for us to play a little game. Are you down for it?
I love games. Bring it on.
Yes. So let me get my timer here because we're going to play what I call first class favorite things. Okay. And how this works is all you're going to do is fill in the blank. I'm going to say, what is your favorite ... And you fill in the blank of whatever the ... is. Got it?
Got it.
Okay, awesome. But you got to answer in 10 seconds or less.
No problem. I'm pretending there's a buzzer.
I got one for you.
I always wanted to be on Family Feud, so I feel like this is as close as I'm getting so far, Lindsey.
Woo! Glad to make your dreams come true.
It's happening.
Let me put on a Steve Harvey mustache.
Please.
Okay, so we will start with something easy. Now, if you miss the buzzer, then you've got to come up with a consequence for everyone listening, okay? And sometimes we get hung up on the word consequence, but you can have positive consequences just as well as negative consequences. It's all about your matter of perspective. For example, 10 push-ups to me is a negative consequence. 10 push-ups to someone else that enjoys fitness is a positive consequence.
Right. Right.
Okay, let's start with something easy. Ooh, you asked me this backstage. So what is your favorite color? Go.
Purple and magenta.
Why did you pick those colors? Like, what do they do for you?
They're magical. They spark joy for me. The flowers that are those colors make me the happiest. So it's those colors. There's definitely at least one color for everyone that sparks joy. When you find yours, wear it if you want to wear it. Have it around you if you can have it around you. I have some purple in my hair that I thought I might have to lose once I started teaching and coaching to more corporate audiences. You don't. Be exactly yourself everywhere you go, everything you do.
Yes. And I didn't even notice till you pulled it forward. And that is a key nugget right there, being yourself. You know, living your first class life is about being authentically and boldly who you are, flaws and all. And now they'll remember you even more. Oh, the speaker with the purple streak in her hair. Like, yes. What is your favorite drink? Can't say water. Go.
Cucumber martini. I'm on such a kick. Never had them before. It makes me feel like such a grown-up. I never had a cocktail that looked sophisticated. Downside is they don't have it everywhere. Upside is they don't have it everywhere. So it's a sometimes thing. I'm like a drink and a half wonder and a sometimes cocktail sipper. So it's perfect. I really love them lately.
I've never heard of a cucumber martini.
It's refreshing. So you feel like it's light as you're also celebrating and sipping.
Nice. I'm going to have to keep that in mind. Okay. What is your favorite book? Author and title, can't say your own. Go.
Originally To Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee, for most of my life. When I think about books that had more of an impact as I got older, it turned more into things like The Alchemist, Self-Esteem Prophecy, The Secret, because I was just in that seeking mode. So those early personal development books that I read had the biggest impact.
Nice. Favorite song, artist, and title? Go.
Tempted to Touch by Beres Hammond, because I am really Jamaican inside of me. And anytime reggae or dancehall comes on, it does something to my whole soul.
I love it. I can hear it playing right in my head. Okay, what is your favorite quote?
Oh, good. Easy one. Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in the world.
That is a good point. I remember I was having a conversation with one of my coaching clients, and, we were talking about, when things happen around us, how do we deal with that and things like that. And he mentioned, if it's somebody close to me, then maybe I'll speak up if I really, really care about it. But otherwise, I just feel like I'll I'll mind my space because it's not for me to worry about. And I was like, we have to be careful with that because, even if it's not somebody close to us, we never know when it may be us. And we could have had the opportunity to stop something early on had we spoken up about different situations versus, because it's not so close to me, I'm not going to worry about it. Like with the George Floyd incident, because that cop had previous incidents and complaints and things like that. And maybe if somebody had spoken up earlier, the situation would have never happened with George Floyd. And, we could talk about all kinds of situations like that. And so it's like, we have to be careful with, because it's not directly impacting me, I don't have to do anything, right?
And you don't have to wait for a huge social injustice. How about just the small things? You want more kindness in your work, in your home, in your community? Be kind. Start smiling at people. Start saying hello.
Yes, I love it. Be the change you wish to see. Okay. What is your favorite place to travel specifically? Go.
Tide, Italy, and Costa Rica.
Say that again. What was the first one?
Italy. So I was saying it quickly and mushing them together so it counts as one answer. Italy and Costa Rica.
Okay, you said Tide, and I'm like, where is Tide?
So it's a new country. You haven't heard about it yet, Lindsey, but we could go together. It'll be fun. We'll go to Tide.
Yes, I was really thinking because then afterwards came Italy, and I was like, Tide, Italy. Okay, I'm going to have to look that up.
Sounds like a beautiful part of Italy.
Okay, what is your favorite activity to do to relax? Go.
Bike ride or walk on the beach. Right behind me there is the ocean, and we live in this huge stretch of beach, and the sand gets hard enough that you can ride your bike right on it. So riding my bicycle and just looking at the ocean and hearing the waves is magical.
Yes. Okay, one more. What is your favorite food and why? Go.
This is a more involved question, but I'm going to go with a meatball. I'm going to go with a meatball. And because it can cover so many categories. It can be sweeter, it can be spicy, it could be cocktail, it could be Sunday sauce, whatever form. Like if you're giving me a category that I have to have, it's probably a meatball.
And I love how you're like, it could be so complex. And then you're like, meatball.
Exactly. Because I was thinking of every category. I'm like, I really love guacamole. I really love mushrooms. I really love a great salad. And I'm like, yeah, but if I'm going to crave something, it's probably like a meatball.
I'm like that with pizza because there's so many different varieties. And this is a bonus nugget for y'all because we often sometimes can get in that space of, well, I can't do this because such and does this, or, there's so many out there. Like, what do I have to offer? What do I have to bring to the table? But if you think about it, like you said, there's so many different kinds of meatballs. And with me for pizza, if I had to choose one food to eat the rest of my life, it would be pizza because there's so many different flavors of pizza, depending on where you go to. Like if you go to a top Italian place or a gourmet pizza place or Papa John's or Domino's. Or if you're making it at home, if it's a dessert pizza, a Mexican pizza, barbecue pizza, supreme, veggie, meats, so many different combinations, but they all have their space. They all have, their moment to shine. And so we are the same way. It doesn't matter how many people are doing the things that you do. They can't do it like you because you're the only you.
Absolutely. They'll never say the words in the same way, at the same time, with the same tone as the person who is meant to hear them from you. There is somebody who is waiting for you to do the thing you are meant to do, but you're talking yourself out of because you think that category is full. The category is not full.
So good. Well, thank you for playing our game, First Class Favorites. And to you, First Class family, make sure that you join our private Patreon community because you will actually have access to our First Class Favorite Things list, which includes our reading list. And if you're not a reader, it's okay. We got our song playlist, our favorite places to travel because, we're all about opening abundance and, cultural experiences and seeing the world. And then also our favorite activities to relax relax, because we are definitely a self-care proactive, okay? So make sure you join our private Patreon community. You can click the link below and you'll get access to bonus videos and all kinds of other resources. So do that there. Thanks for playing, Joanna. Let's get back into this conversation. Oh my gosh, can't believe our time is almost up, but okay. Now, I want to ask you about First Class Life. So
Yes.
if you've never tuned into the show, First Class Life is actually an acronym that stands for all of the characteristics and skills that you want to embody into your lifestyle to be able to create a first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. Now, if you want to figure out what that acronym is, you can do one of two things. You can either go to the very first episode of the First Class Life show and listen where I talk about each factor in detail, or you can go to firstclasslifeshop.com and buy the book, First Class Life, 10 Key Factors to Create a Life Full of Purpose, Fulfillment, and Happiness. Meanwhile, we are going to ask the beautiful Joanna, which key factor of First Class Life do you resonate with the most?
Thankful.
Mm-hmm.
I've mentioned it for at least, I feel like, remember the cartoon Smurfs? The answer for a lot of questions was Smurfy. They used the word Smurfy to mean a lot of different things. If you ask me 10 questions, chances are at least 4 of the answers could be something around gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
If you really, really want, when it all comes down to what creates your life experience, how grateful are you? If you look at things through a lens of gratitude, you will appreciate every single moment of every single day in a way you didn't even know possible. You will realize that these moments are what we collect in a much more satisfying way than stuff. It is hard to be mad and grateful. It is hard to be jealous and grateful. It is hard to be sad and grateful. So it is your biggest wild card. So they're all good. So if you don't know what they are and you're listening, you better just buy the book and look at them, because I almost want to say them all, but I'm sticking with thankful.
Yes. It is a hard question because you need them all, right? And
Yeah.
I had a feeling you were going to say that one. I said she's going to shock me if she says something else other than thankful. Thank you for sharing. Now, we've been talking about a lot, and there's still so much that we could talk about. But right now, I want to ask you, how do you impact the world as a leader today?
I love that question. Thank you for asking. And before I say my specific way, I want to remind your audience, if you have a way that you impact the world and it's evolving and changing, flow with it. It's okay to change. It's okay to evolve. It's okay to do more than one thing. Mm-hmm. So for years when I studied with Tao, I thought I was learning how to be a yoga teacher. And because of her and because of my commitment to helping people feel and connect with their peace, I loved it. I love teaching yoga. I love teaching breath and meditation. I love teaching it to kids. I love teaching it to people who are limited in their movement and they stay in their chair. I love the different aspects of it. One of the biggest gifts of writing the book, and I wrote the book, I started writing it before Tao passed away, and I finished doing my last page of edits on the day that she died, and my editor finished reviewing it 1 year later on the anniversary of her death. So none of it felt accidental. And the biggest gift of writing the book was it led to bringing this passion of mine to a wider audience. And since then, I've been doing keynote speaking. I teach a course called Best Life Ever virtually once a week to a group of individuals. I teach a course called Best Team Ever to communities, colleges, teams, corporations. And both of those are 12-week virtual weekly sessions. And the course is layered with my favorite workshops, experiences, trainings that I've ever either taught or taken that give you real results immediately. So that, and this was a happy accident from Zoom. I used to do these things more in person than virtual. Doing them virtually and doing them weekly, instead of having that retreat or workshop hangover, If you've ever gone somewhere fully immersive and you're like, oh, when I'm here, I don't even need the meatballs. I can have vegan diet forever with this amazing vegan chef. I don't even need pants. Look at all of these like flowy clothes I could just say. Then you get home and the clothes are still inside out and the dishes are piled up and maybe you had a flat tire. And how do you feel that here? So I've been really enjoying this weekly virtual format because you learn the tool, we chat about it, we play with it in the context of our real life. So we start to see real change, real transformation, real power immediately. So the best ways that I'm living my purpose now is through writing. I'm writing my next book, and I'm also working on companion guides through this one. We started the talks of turning My Guru Wears Heels into a film. I coach individuals and communities through Best Life Ever and Best Team Ever. And I also am just a regular human being sharing my experience on social media, which might run the gamut of a quick dose of inspiration to cartwheeling on the beach, to my kids doing something ridiculous, to my fish, Shaq and Kobe, being adorable in the fish tank. So all of these things, you can find them either on my site, which is my name, JoannaRajendran.com, or on Instagram, I'm Joanna Raj, R-A-J, because I know there's only so much we could spell these Indian last names. And TikTok's still new for me, so those are still a mixture of funny, as much as silly, as much as dancey, as much as inspiration. But that is what's happening and where to find it.
Nice. Thank you for sharing, and make sure y'all tune in to her live workshop, okay? Make sure you purchase the book, do all the things. We will have those links for you in the show notes. So clickety click and connect with Joanna.
Oh, thank you, Lindsey. I almost forgot, because something special just for your audience specifically is when you go on JoannaRajendran.com, it'll have a pop-up that you could put your email list in and you'll get a free meditation right away. So you could just be guided to breathe, very short. I think it's like 8 minutes. So that you'll get right away. And if you put in a comment, First Class Life, I will invite you with a complimentary pass to a workshop we do in the beginning of the year that will go over 4 steps on manifesting anything you want.
Ooh, thank you. We love goodies at the First Class Life Show. Thank you,
Who doesn't?
Yes. Now, you just shared with us where everybody can reach you. Again, we will have that info in the show notes. Make sure you put in the comments First Class Life whenever you go to get your free meditation on the site. Meanwhile, what is one final piece of advice that you can share with us to grow as leaders?
The best thing to grow as leaders is to mind your intention. If your intention is to grow, or to grow in popularity or in numbers or in results, you will slow your progress. If your intention is to grow in impact, in service, in love, in connection, people will feel that right away. They will feel it through the screen, through the phone, through an audience. They will feel it. And your organic growth can happen bigger, more dramatically, and faster than you can even imagine. So mind your intention and keep that at the forefront.
Oh, so good. And listen, here's a little bonus for y'all, because the I in First Class Life stands for intentional. See, these are universal things, okay? Thank you for sharing, Joanna. Again, make sure you connect with her, do all of the things. And I know that you could be doing anything in the world right now, but you have spent the past hour here with us, and we do not take it lightly. We are forever grateful. Be sure that you subscribe, comment, like, share, do all the things. Share your insights on social media. Don't forget to tag us, and make sure that you are out there maximizing your impact, creating your first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. We're here every week. And until next time, see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. But please be sure to subscribe to the First Class Life Show. And don't forget to rate, leave a review, and join our private community so that we can continue to provide you with great personal development conversations to help you maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. You deserve it.